Good morning, everybody. This is Dee, and I've got Jim Potts on the line with us today. We will be answering questions that you might have. So if you want to take a look at the poll that we have, I can we can try to answer any of those questions for you today. And we have some notes from Mike because he's unable to join us this morning. So we will cover those items as well. So, first and foremost, official certificates from MSSC can be downloaded from MSSC for free about 2 weeks after the test. So people may purchase a pretty certificate for framing, but ATIM should not be paying for those. So otherwise, you can just download those and put that item in their files, in their IWDS files. Also, we need for everybody to at least check their training plans weekly to make sure that everything is up to date and that everybody is either on track or the dates are changed or any of that information is being monitored on a regular basis, at least weekly. Also, keep up this pace on the intakes because we're getting close to the numbers, but we need those numbers to be maintained so that we can reach our numbers of people in the grand scheme of things. So, Jim, do you want to say anything about how people might be able to input their certificates in the MSSC certificates into IWDS? Do we need to show anybody that, or do you think we're good there?
I believe we're good, but we can raise a hand if there's anybody out there, the same as you'd load a credential with any other WIA-type client. I also put out a document a couple months back on the steps, but if anybody needs to have a demonstration, I'd be glad to do that this morning. One of the other things I did want to speak about is to make sure that each day you're going in to check your search ATIM customers for new applications. It seems like if we don't remind people sometimes, it seems to slip the mind, and sometimes we'll have people that are sitting out there for a week or 10 days with their application not being picked off of the system. So they really get flagged if they go over 10 days, because right on the ATIM website it says they'd be contacted within 10 days. But really, a person, when they submit that online application, hopefully the case managers are checking it every day, and it would be a person would submit their application, and hopefully within the 24 hours somebody would reach out to them if it's during the week, and if it's a weekend, on Monday. And it's not happening with all LWIAs. It seems like there's about 4 or 5 LWIAs that I have to continually send a reminder of it. So if you haven't gotten a reminder from me, you know you're probably doing a good job. But just check it every day as a case manager, the search ATIM customers. And you guys are doing a really good job on the search group assignments. I notice when somebody gets put in the treatment group, it seems like that same day they're taken out, or they're picked. That has to happen in order for the client to be enrolled in services. They have to be picked off of that random assignment list a second time. So, but everybody's doing that really, really well. So those are kind of the two technical assistance side from IWDS that I wanted to bring up.
Karen has typed a question in the chat pod about how you change a date for a customer who was originally planning to take a class and for whatever reason that changes. Karen, do you mean in IWDS or in the ATIM guide information? ATIM. Okay, I'll pull up the screen and share that, and then and do you mean for their reason changed, or the class date, start date changed, or I guess it doesn't matter what the reason. So we'll just pull that up and show you guys. So give me just a second to get this rolling. right, can everybody see my screen? If you can, uh, if somebody can just let me know. Jim, can you see my screen? All right, so Mike, let me know. Okay, that's great. All right, so to change dates, what we need to do is go to the to the customer, and let's go to Alan Alda's training plan. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of time here. Okay, so the planned start date, that's not going to change, but now we're talking about his technical training. Maybe is that what you're talking about, Karen? Let me know. Optional training. Okay, so in optional training, sorry, the screen's going a little bit slow. So what we would do is enter the dates in here where a start date is, and if the end date changes, you would change the end date in here. So is that what you had expected? Karen's typing, so we're waiting for her to type me the answer.
While we're waiting, Chris had a question about inactive participants, the folks they've been exited out of IWDS, and he's saying that they're still showing in WorkNet. So I don't know if you could address that for him.
I don't quite know the answer to that, so I'm going to have to get an answer and have that sent to Chris. That is one of those things that I'm not 100% sure about how the integration works between there. So I'm going to have to get Lacey or someone to give him a jingle back.
That sounds good. And then we can put it on the FAQ. So
yes.
other people.
Yes. All right. He is not going to take the classes as planned. So does that mean he's withdrawing from the whole program or just from that particular class? If okay, Mike Pierman's just typing. Is this a different? Is someone not selected for the treatment group? Okay. All right. We're going to have to answer that in a second, Mike. I want to get this item cleared up with Karen. He completed safety and process and is not going to take maintenance of quality. His working a temp job. He is not withdrawing from the program because I may do an OJT. Okay. So he's not moving on with the MSSC. So if you have multiple levels of the MSSC in here, you would probably, I will double check this for sure, but you would more than likely just discontinue the certificate. But in here, you've got traditional bridge, employability skills in MSSC, where under the expanded bridge, I believe, let me see once the screen pops up here, is where the additional, if he finished safety, then the next one would just be an optional training. So if he's got that in there, then we would try to take that out of there. So section 3 only. So let me get back into optional. Section 3, MSSC certification training. So he's not going to take that, but he has completed safety. Okay. So let me, again, let me double check with that and make sure that by just removing the dates or removing these other dates in here that you are not going to have anything show up. I'm thinking that if these other 3 items are just deleted dates, then that just means that they will not have finished it. But I will double check with the powers that be in the program themselves for you. All right, and I'll have somebody get back to you with that, and then put it in the FAQ for you as well. Okay, so Mike asked the question. Let me get one thing here. Mike asked the question. I'm sorry. We're going to have Cameron's question answered by somebody from WorkNet. And then Mike Pearman asked, if someone is not selected for the treatment group, what should happen with them in WorkNet? If they're not selected with the treatment group, they would not have gotten to WorkNet. Is that correct, Jim? They would just be through IWDS at that point.
I would have to rely on you guys to know what's going to go on with WorkNet, Dee.
Okay.
I'm not
All right.
sure. I know on our end, once they when they're on the when they show up on the search random assignment list, if they're in the control group. And that's one thing, you guys can pick people that's off of the random assignment in the control group. Nothing's going to go on with them. I went ahead and just to clean up the board, I picked a bunch of them yesterday and threw a case note in saying that they were randomly assigned to the treatment group, so there's nothing else you can do for them in ATIM. But within IWDS, the system's going to lock down their ATIM application. They can't certify it or anything. So, but I'm not 100% sure at all what goes on with WorkNet side of that control group.
I will double check. I apologize. I'm not the 100% expert here on WorkNet ins and outs. So when you're getting into a couple of these kind of questions, I am going to have to rely on the staff that are working with the program daily to make sure that we get those answers. And I apologize, Natasha was unable to be on the call today. When a customer obtains employment and is exited from IWDS, is that information uploaded into the ATIM training plan? And yes, when those items go from, those will automatically propagate into ATIM for everybody else to see, because that's the team members that are going to have to see that. And we have a question from Debbie, and Deb forgot to put her D on her name. What if a person dropped out of safety in Section 3? Do we still need to sign off the service not complete tab? Report shows he is off track. The only thing that is required, and I will find out for sure, the only thing that is required is the safety. So as long as they have finished the safety, the other ones are, as it says, optional. So we will double check that for sure. And again, that comes back to that whole, let's find out if these dates can just be deleted. So Deb will find that out, and that will be kind of put with Karen's earlier question. All right.
And this is Jim, and this is just what I've heard over time. It seems like these questions, if people are dropping out of other classes, that's what you would want to do. You don't want them to be marked off track, because it's impossible for them to complete something they've dropped out of. So I'm almost positive you'll have to remove those dates, because if they've dropped, it makes no sense for it to be marked off track. So you guys control those dates, the way I understand, of putting those dates in those start and end dates on those other optional classes. So you would be the one determining if they're on track or off track. It's not auto set. It's based on dates that are put in by the case management staff.
All right, so I just updated by removing these dates, and that just took the maintenance awareness out of the out of the person's training. So and Karen is saying that you can't just remove the dates and then update like I just did.
So if they can't do that, then that's definitely something you want to get clarification from WorkNet, because I always thought that
Right.
they were able to do that, because that, I mean, to me, they should be able to change their own dates of
All
the
right,
plan.
so what I just did, I'll show everybody again. So watch my screen here. I went in and I removed the end date. I just highlighted it and deleted. And then I went into the start date. I highlighted and deleted. And then I clicked the update button. And it just took them both out of that. So that should be the way that you can do it. And if you guys can't do it in the field, I need to know that. So, okay, so Karen said that also worked for her. So now, Deb, that should solve your problem as well, right? So if you can type a yes for me, that would be great. And we're waiting for Deb's answer here. Yes, we will take out the dates. Okay, great. All right. We have just one more other note. We need to make sure that we're making sure that we're picking up applicants.
We covered that.
We covered that? Okay.
Yep.
And then on track and off track. Who's on the call from LWIA 19? Is that
That's
if
Karen.
you raise your hand, is that Karen? All right, so we took care of that on-track, off-track item in the training plan just now. Is that correct? Okay. All right, and intake sites. Do we need to discuss intake sites at all? And taking them offline, if you want to raise your hand about that. All right, so nobody's raising their hand, so we're not going to discuss that point. Let's see what else we had. Enrolled customers training, personal training employment plan. Somebody had a question about that. It was, there were two people that actually had a question about that. So have we answered your questions that you had regarding enrolled customers PTEP? If not, please type your question into the, all right. Oh, and Larry had asked earlier, I missed that, sorry Larry, if you remove dates and options, does it affect info entered into IWDS? So whatever we have, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever we have in IWDS automatically propagates back and forth with WorkNet and vice versa. So if we change
Well, not
those
vice
dates,
versa. It doesn't. What they put in IWDS, I mean, what they populate when they populate dates for training in WorkNet, that's not going to come over to IWDS. When they put in IWDS, it goes back to you guys, the way I understand it. So, but a lot of their classes in IWDS, or excuse me, in their training plan, is based on what's planned out. They won't put those services in IWDS till it comes time for the service. Where in their plan, they might have a service all the way out for 2 months from now in the part of the plan start. In IWDS, they would document that service when it comes up time to do it.
so for example, if this person is not going to be taking this manufacturing process and production class for the MSSC certificate, then that just wouldn't even go into IWDS. But once they're done, then that certificate would go into IWTS.
Well, you almost said it two different ways. What they would have had to have done is load that service into IWDS. That service is not getting populated in based off of WorkNet. That's populated by the case manager loading in that MSCC course. And then if the person dropped out of it, they would put the date in IWDS that they dropped out, and they would mark it as unsuccessful. If the person completed the course, they would put the date they completed it, and they would mark it successful. And then if they had that certificate, then they would load in that credential.
Okay, so they need to load it into,
They have to load their
what
service.
they need to do is
There's
go
only
into IWDS and take out the dates as well.
Right, there's only two auto-populated services in IWDS. That's the career plan and the personalized training plan. Every other service in IWDS must be put in by the case manager. And they would have to put in whether it's successfully completed or unsuccessfully completed. They have to put in the dates it starts, the dates it ends. So that's all has to be put in manually by the case manager.
Okay, so Larry, does that answer your question? All right, great. All right, do we have any other questions from the audience that we need to respond to or find out information for? I don't have any other points to bring up, so we're dependent upon you to ask us any other questions that you might have.
Well, since we got dead air and it's kind of like bad radio, I'll go ahead and talk a little bit. Just a big thing, and I'll just keep reiterating, for those services in IWDS, make sure you're taking credit for it. If you've got clients who have completed training, make sure to mark them completed. When you get that credential, make sure you take credit for it and you load it into IWDS. You are required to have a copy of that credential in the person's file, because if you get audited, they're going to want a credential copy that's going to match up to what you've got in the system. So make sure that you're keeping a copy of that for yourself. Overall, I haven't had any problems other than a few LWIAs not picking their people timely. Other than that, it seems like things on the IWDS side is going really well. We don't seem to have any problems. There's many problems now of people having any sort of issue at all that I've came across. So if you do come across any sort of issue, if you have any problem in IWDS with a client not cooperating, feel free to email me or call me. And my email, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat box, and my phone number. And then that's all I have, Dee. So if we don't have anything else, I think we can call it a day.
Wrap up the call? All right. We'll be back again on May 13th. So everybody, if you don't have any other questions, I do see one other person typing. So if we don't see anything else that's a question from the audience, we will be calling it a day. And we'll get